Welcome to Complete BS, the official podcast of couch coaches everywhere. Not just football. It's every sport that ruins your parlay, wrecks your fantasy week, and still brings you back for more. Buzzer beaters, blown leads, and brackets and flames. Yeah, we're all over it. Unfiltered takes, armchair analysis, and enough bold opinions to fill a playbook. Hosted by Brian Schmuck, sports junkie, the Saban of stats, and your official voice of, I could coach better than that. Let's go.
We're going to talk preseason All-Americans. This episode, we're going to go through the offense, who we like, who those big playmakers are that we're looking at every Saturday. Let's get it started.
So let's jump in. All right. Offense we're starting with. Let's do quarterback. Who you got?
Quarterback, for me, I think it's obvious. Maybe not to everybody, but for me, I mentioned in an episode where I've got Clemson as the national champion. It all starts with Cade Klubnik, 6'2", 210, passed for over 3,600 yards last year and 36 touchdowns. It seems like every year he gets better and better. He's taken a step each offseason. I would expect that to continue. Big numbers. The biggest thing for him, I think, is because I expect Clemson to be so good, how much does he play in the second half? Is he out of the game in the fourth quarter? Is he not playing? I think Clemson is that good. Will he be able to put up those numbers that you typically need for those All-American Heisman type years?
But before I throw a couple of names at you, who else were you considering?
I really like LaNorris Sellers and I like DJ Lagway. I'm not ready to put them up there in that top level yet. Lagway, he didn't start the season as the starter. Graham Mertz did. LaNorris Sellers got a few more games under his belt than Lagway does. But both of them are 6'3", 240. That's basically Cam Newton size. A couple inches shorter. I think Cam was about 6'5". They have Cam Newton ability about them. I think they're both amazing quarterbacks. They can do everything. They can make every throw. They've got enough mobility. They're not Lamar Jackson, but they have enough mobility that they are phenomenal. I expect them to make another jump this offseason and have a really big productive year. I also really like true sophomore Sam Leavitt out at Arizona State. I think with Kenny Dillingham out there and the coaching that he's getting, he takes another progression. He'll have a really big year.
How about Drew Aller from Penn State? He's on a team that's probably going to be ranked preseason top 5. Big Ten. There are going to be a lot of eyeballs on them this year. They went to the playoffs last year. He threw for over 3,000 yards, led all of these quarterbacks in completion percentage. He has a chance to be mentioned right up there with any All-American. Then you didn't mention Nussmeier from LSU earlier, Garrett Nussmeier. He's maybe still need another year of polish, but he threw for over 4,000 yards last year, 29 touchdowns, a higher percentage completion than Klubnik. He's going to have all the receivers in the world at LSU, all the opportunity in the world at LSU to win big games. He threw 12 interceptions last year. So those are the two I would throw up there with or maybe even above Klubnik.
I like Aller. I think he's a really good quarterback, really good college quarterback. He's got tons of talent. I think they're going to run the ball a lot. Yeah, he's going to pass, no doubt. I understand that over 3,000 yards last year, but they also got 2,000-yard running backs that we're going to talk about probably here in just a second. He lost his tight end, his favorite weapon. He's going to produce. I don't know that it's going to be at that same level that I expect Klubnik to produce at, but he's definitely in the conversation. When you look at Nussmeier, I'm not as high on LSU as I think so many other people are. Maybe it's my lack of faith in Brian Kelly and LSU's defense and overall. That doesn't mean him as a quarterback position, he can't put up big numbers. But overall, LSU as a team, I'm just not that high on him, not high on them. I have him down a little bit. Put up big numbers, great. But is he going to be the guy that's going to take you to the next level, win those games, put you over the top in the toughest games of the season? I don't think so.
There's somebody to watch out of nowhere, and that is Julian Sayin at Ohio State. He's going to probably start this year as a freshman. If he starts and he is all they say he is and he puts up big numbers, he will get a lot of national attention.
If you're the quarterback at Ohio State, you're going to be in the conversation. Yeah, he's got the 5-star pedigree. Week 1, he's got a duel against Mr. Everything Arch Manning, who we didn't talk about. Who comes out of that looking better? Who gets the win? Who has the better day? Someone's going to have a leg up week 1.
All right, let's move on to running back. Who you got, BS?
So 2 running backs for All-American. My top guy, Jeremiah Love, Notre Dame. He's 6'2", 212, 215, something like that, 1,100 yards last year, 17 touchdowns before a late season knee injury. He did play in the national championship game. He was banged up. He wasn't 100%. He might have been the big difference maker had he been 100% in that game. I love what he does. He is a workhorse back. He's got a major test week 1 against Miami with Miami's front 7. I think that's the strength of the Miami defense. So we're going to see right out of the gate, what's he able to do? I think he is the top running back in the country, and he's primed to have a big year, and they're going to run the ball a lot at Notre Dame. Then we mentioned the 2,000-yard backs at Penn State. Nick Singleton, I give him the edge, so he would be my All-American, my second one there, over 1,100 yards last year, 6.4 yards per carry, 12 touchdowns. So he gets the nod over Kaytron Allen, but they are a 1-2 punch. Nobody's got a better backfield than Penn State.
Who else are you considering for those running back spots?
Of course, Kaytron Allen that I just talked about, he is just a step just right there with Nick Singleton. Both guys have a chance to break the all-time rushing record at Penn State. Who's going to end up with it? They're both right there and have a chance to surpass that and finish 1 and 2. I look out at Oregon. Mekhi Hughes, transfer from Tulane. Can he produce now at the Big Ten level? Coming in from Tulane, a little bit less competition, but big body, 5'11", 210, had over 1,400 yards and 15 touchdowns last year. Big question is, can he produce? And with that same conversation, can they produce after transferring? Last year, the top true freshman running back was at Louisiana Monroe. He's now transferred into the SEC at Missouri. Ahmad Hardy at Missouri. I think he's another guy that can he produce now on a bigger stage?
Let's turn our attention to wide receivers. Tell me who your 3 are.
If you're doing an All-American list at any position, especially wide receiver, and you don't start with Jeremiah Smith, you don't know what you're doing. Jeremiah Smith is the best player in college football. He's certainly the best wide receiver. 6'3", 215. If he were draft eligible, he'd be a top 3 pick, if not the number 1 pick last year after his freshman year. We get him as a sophomore. We get him back in 2026 to watch him and what that wide receiver room continues to churn out every year. Ohio State, he is the best player in college football. He does have the new quarterback that we talked about with Julian Sayin. He's got running mates there with Carnell Tate and Brandon Ennis. The wide receiver room is loaded. I've got another wide receiver room, though, for you that's just as good as Ohio State's, but everything starts with Jeremiah Smith, best player in college football. Ryan Williams last year started really hot, had a huge game against Georgia, and everyone was talking to Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Williams, and Ryan Williams was the talk that he was maybe a little bit better. He cooled a little bit as the season went along, but he's still elite. Also, new quarterback, Alabama, Ty Simpson right now is supposed to be the starter there. How do they develop a relationship? Both these guys, Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Williams, absolute lights out, phenomenal players. A guy that I think is slept on a lot around the country is Arizona State's Jordan Tyson. 6'2", 195. Last year, he had 75 catches for 1,100 yards. But over the last 6 regular season games, he had over 700 yards. He led the nation over the last 6 games of the regular season. So he really came on. 700 yards of his 1,100 came in those last 6 games when Arizona State was making the push to win the Big 12 and then get into the playoff. He's got his quarterback, Sam Levitt, back. They're primed as a duo to have a really big year. Jordan Tyson is somebody that people need to be talking about a lot more. I know you're going to love this, but you got to look at that Clemson wide receiver room. Antonio Williams, Bryant Wesco, TJ Moore, all 3 of them can have really big years, but who's going to be the guy that Klubnik is looking for on 3rd down that you need to convert? You need to make the big play. Late in the game, it's a tight game. Who is he looking for? Who's his number 1 that he has the best relationship with, that he feels he can trust? But I think all 3 of those guys are amazing. We all talk about the Ohio State wide receiver room. That Clemson wide receiver room is just as good.
All right, BS. Who you got at tight end?
So tight end might be a little bit of my wild card, and I'm going to kind of jump to the others that I was considering, because typically what the talking heads out there, everybody's tight end is either Eli Stowers at Vanderbilt or Max Clare, the transfer from Purdue now at Ohio State. Those kind of seem to be 1A, 1B with those two guys. Claire, I think he'll be a good pro. I don't see him getting the numbers that you typically need to be an All-American because, as we talked about the Ohio State wide receiver room and the depth there's only so many balls that can go around every game for someone to catch. So I just don't think he's going to have the production. Is he going to be an NFL player for a long time? Absolutely. Stowers already has the relationship there with Pavia, so definitely there in the conversation, but I'm looking for a guy that I think might put up a lot of yards and turn some heads, and so my All-American is Justin Jolly at NC State. He's 6'3", 251. They've lost a talent in the wide receiver room. They've lost talent all over the place. NC State needs somebody to step up and be their guy. He had 600 yards last year. With losing the wide receivers that they've lost, he's going to be the guy that steps up. He's going to be the guy that the quarterback's looking for on third down. He's going to move the sticks. I see him potentially having very close to, if not 1,000-yard season. And as we're looking around the country who the top tight end is, Justin Jolly is going to separate himself.
All right, let's move to the big uglies.
For me, it starts with Caden Proctor. I think he's the cream of the crop when you're looking at that prototypical tackle, 6'7", 350. Probably the best offensive line in the country. Alabama could have 3 All-Americans on their offensive line, and he's the anchor. He's the best of the bunch. Parker Brailsford, Jaden Roberts, they're going to be all SEC. I have no doubt, but they could also be in that conversation at the end of the year for All-American. But Proctor, he sets the standard there. Spencer Fano at Utah, 6'6", just over 300 pounds. He's played both left and right. I actually think he's going to project inside in the NFL, and he'll end up moving to guard. But with their transfer quarterback, Evan Dampier, last year he rushed for something over 1,600, 1,700 yards as a quarterback. That's a guy, if you're Dampier, I know where Fano is. That's where we're running. I'm getting behind him. I'm letting him clear the way, and I'm off to daylight. Fano is elite. He will be a top pick in the draft next year. It just depends on where teams look at him. Do they think that he's a right tackle? Do they see him moving inside to guard? But he's somebody that's going to play a long time and make a lot of money in the NFL. Going to the ACC, the top 2 ACC tackles, Blake Miller from Clemson and Francis Mauigoa from the right tackle from Miami. Both guys, funnily enough, are listed at 6'6", 315. They're 2 of the top tackles in the country. They're the top guys in the ACC. The Big Ten, I think this year, they don't have that elite tackle that you often think of with the Big Ten and running the ball. So I've got some SEC, I've got some ACC in there, and that's where the top tackles are at this year.
One name I'll throw out at you is Trevor Gooseby from Texas. He's going to be their starting left tackle this year, so protecting that Manning blind side. Last year he had 80.8 pass block grade, and I think he was climbed at like 21 miles an hour on GPS speed at one point, so super athletic, big guy, good numbers early on. He's going to start this year. He's on the right path to being really good. He hasn't done it yet. He doesn't deserve it in front of those guys, but keep an eye on Trevor Gooseby from Texas. All right, let's move inside to guards.
Inside guards, I'm starting with Missouri. Caden Green, transfer from Texas A&M, 6'5", 320. He's a mauler. He's not going to have the highest pass blocking grade probably, but he's going to smack you in the mouth, and we're moving the line forward. We talked about the transfer running back, Ahmad Hardy. This is, again, we talk with Dampier, you run behind your guy. This is who Hardy's looking. Where's Green? All right, I know I'm running right there behind the left guard. Got it. That's where my hole is going to be. You're going to see a lot of inside runs with Missouri, or you're going to see Green. He has enough mobility to pull. You see Green moving out there. Hardy's going to be right behind him. With Penn State and their 1-2 punch of their running backs, it starts up front with Ega Yawana, 6'4", 335, monster of a man. Again, another great run blocking, nasty downhill. He's got that mean streak on the field. And what more proof do you need that he's been leading the way for 2 1,000-yard running backs?
Who else were you thinking of?
I already mentioned Jaden Roberts from Alabama, 6'5", 325. He's somebody that's going to be in the conversation, playing there with Proctor on the line. That Alabama offensive line is really, really good, and they're stacked. And then Amarje Reed Adams from Texas A&M, big guy, 6'5", 340. He's somebody that you can build a rushing attack around him up front and how he's going to move people out of the way.
I got a couple of names to throw in there. Senior guard from the University of Michigan, Giovanni Elhadi. He was all Big Ten honorable mention last year. He's coming back for his senior year. He's been a staple in the middle of that line. A lot of starts, a lot of experience. They run the ball like typical Michigan, and they have success. His name is going to be there. And then I'll throw in Anthony Knapp from Notre Dame. I actually think Knapp was a tackle, so I might have this mislabeled. But either way, as an O-lineman, he started every game as a freshman. He was a freshman All-American. If you'll remember, he is the starter that got hurt in the playoff game and had to miss the national championship game. It's kind of a big deal, but he's coming back as a sophomore, and if he takes a step forward, he's going to be really good.
You look at Notre Dame offensive lines, they won the Jacobs Blocking Trophy before. They're a program and an offensive line that typically year in and year out, you know that they're going to be pretty good and they're going to have talent up there. Knapp is definitely somebody in that line that Notre Dame just continues to churn out. The Michigan offensive line, Sharon Moore, he's an O-line guy. That's where he played. That's what he coached. He's got a soft spot, if you will, for the O-line. Again, the Big Ten, not a ton of elite offensive linemen this year. We'll get to one pick here as we move to centers. My others to watch is Iowa's Logan Jones. Both the centers that I'm going to talk about are a little bit undersized. They both come in under 300 pounds, but very athletic. Your center, they're making all the blocking assignments, a little bit more of a cerebral position to know what's going on and being able to pick up blitzes. Logan Jones is the next in that line of really strong Iowa offensive linemen. When you're looking at center, probably one of the more consensus offensive players around the country, it's Jake Slaughter from Florida, fifth-year guy. He's dependable. He's leading the way on that line. Will also be a good offensive line. DJ Lagway can trust him up front. He knows he's going to have a clean pocket in front of him to make some decisions. And for me, he's the best center in the country.
Yeah, Napier likes to run the ball, and he's got some pretty interesting run schemes and stuff. Slaughter is definitely one of the tops. They always seem to run the ball well, and that starts up front. So Logan Jones, I don't know as much about, but I do know Iowa football and offensive linemen go together. Do we want to move on to kicker?
Best kicker in the country, as I'm looking, Dominic Zavada from Michigan, 7 for 7 from over 50 yards. Nailed the game winner against our current now defending national champion Ohio State Buckeyes. So Ohio State wins the title. They still lost to Michigan. Zavada was the one that put the nail in the coffin for him. He's ice, over 50 yards. Again, perfect. Another one I'm looking at, same thing. He's got multiple game winners under his belt. 24 out of 27. Will Ferrin from BYU hit the game winner at Utah. There's another game too last year that he had the game winner. Both guys really, really good kickers. They're clutch. Zavada gets the edge though.
This is the last position on offense. We'll go all-purpose player.
So all-purpose, typically when you think about all-purpose, you're thinking, all right, who's going to be your return specialist, kickoff, punt returns, things like that. Travis Hunter last year, he did everything. So I've got kind of two for you. If you want the return specialist route, Zachariah Branch transferred in from USC. He's a wide receiver, but he'll also be your kick and punt return guy. He's electric, great speed, elusive. If you're looking for a return man, I think that's the route you go. But if you're looking for that Swiss Army knife that can do anything, all purpose, you might even direct snap to him. He can be a receiver. He can line up in a tight end spot. He can be the running back. He can do everything. Nyck Harbor at South Carolina, I love this player. He is 6'5", 235 and runs a 10.11 100-meter dash. He can play anywhere on the offense, get the ball in his hands and get out of his way. He's going to run past you, he's going to juke you, and he's going to truck you.
Nyck Harbor was a legend in high school for being so big. And when you see the clips of him running track, it was bizarre looking almost. But it is fun to watch him take the Wildcat at South Carolina on those short yardage things. Like, he's nimble, he's huge. Like, it's really impressive. He's a different kind of athlete.
If I'm the offensive coordinator at South Carolina, you need to look at some Penn State footage last year and look how Penn State used Tyler Warren. They're different body types. Harbor's a lot bigger, but they moved Tyler Warren all around. They moved him into the backfield. They gave him some direct snaps. It's just, South Carolina does that already, but I would also be looking at how Penn State used Tyler Warren to get some other ideas, some different wrinkles and ways that you can get him involved.
I'll send that email to Beamer, let him know.
Perfect. Thank you.
Let me say this on Zachariah Branch. I am a huge Zachariah Branch fan. His career is weird because he shot onto the scene as a freshman and was the most electric and dynamic player, I think, in the country. As a receiver, last year, his production just dropped. It just stopped. He just disappeared. I don't know if that's offense, quarterback play calling, Zachariah Branch's fault. I don't know, but he transferred to Georgia. And if they use him correctly and they get the most out of him, he is Ryan Williams level talent. He is top 5 receiver in the country talent. And I don't know if he'll get there, but he is extraordinarily fun to watch when he's on. We're talking all-purpose guys, and you mentioned a lot of times you use that as a return man type. Caden Wedgen from Iowa is the best return man in the country, in my opinion. He won the Jet Award last year for the top return specialist. He led the FBS in kickoff returns. He was second in the country in punt returns. If you talk about all-purpose, his wide receiver numbers were a little bit pedestrian, but he caught like 20-something passes for a couple hundred yards. It wasn't that he didn't play, but he just wasn't super productive there. But if that changes and he starts to catch the ball as well and he keeps these return numbers up, he's the top all-purpose player in the country to me.
Love that pick. Phenomenal player. I think where I was at with Branch is kind of the stuff that you talked about. And so maybe it's a little bit more of a projection in that I see the ability, I see the talent, I see the size and the speed and think this is where this can go. The ceiling for Branch is way higher. And so I think he just needs a little bit to get there. I don't think he's that far off. If he takes that next step, if he gets the chemistry going with Gunnar Stockton and is locked in at receiver, then I think for him, he's got to get the receiver part right. And so when he's got the receiver part right and he's working there, he's getting balls, that translates over to his return game because he's just got the confidence and that he can just catch the ball and go. When the receiver part's not working in his game, he tends to disappear a little bit. So that pick for me is maybe more a bit of a projection and where I think he can go based on his talent and ability.
All right, BS. That's your All-American team. Lock it down. We'll revisit it. Hey, are we going to revisit this at the end of the year?
Yeah, we can come back and take a look at it and see how we did and or how bad we did. We never know, but that's everything for the preseason All-Americans. Next time we'll talk the defense. Stay tuned. This is Complete BS.
Thanks for listening to Complete BS. Be sure to subscribe, share, and follow us online. And tell us what you think of this episode. Use #CouchCoachNation, and let's keep the conversation going.